I walked directly from the stage to this. I remember sitting on this sofa in like the reception area and just started getting this like these palpitations. I remember saying to myself like, "Oh, this is it. This is where you die." I was just a kid with a lot of energy. I think probably nervous energy. My mum was a young mum, and you know, to be fair to her, she was probably learning on the job, and sometimes maybe said the wrong thing and did the wrong things at times, and you know, I don't blame her for that. But you know, I just remember being quite a confused young lad. I think someone that was likely to act out or lash out because I just didn't understand life. I was getting in trouble at school, getting in fights, getting arrested for things, or drinking, and just doing all the wrong things. And you know, my mum would just kick me out the house all the time. I'd be walking the streets, I'd be trying to kip on my friends' sofas and stuff, and I think she just got sick of me. And then there was no real room at my dad's house for me to live, so I felt as though the world, like, and my parents and everyone had turned their backs on me, really. I'll never forget that moment in the social services office where it was like, do you want to have this kid like 3-4 days a week maybe? And you know, my mum was having a nervous breakdown, and she was just like, nah, I can't cope. You know, I can't cope. And I think when you watch your parents sort of sign you away and say, look, we don't really want to look after this kid. He's too much trouble. It really wrecks your trust system, I think. I never told any of my friends at school. It was like this big secret. It did come out eventually after a few cans of Stella one night in my like last few weeks of school. I was drunk and I was like, boys, I've been in foster care, by the way, for the last few years. And they were like, what? It was this sort of revelation. Got to, I think I was 23, and my electricity went out in my little bedsit, and I had no money, and the lights went off. I'd been sitting in the dark for a few days at this point, and I never really wanted to call on my mum or my dad for help. I think it was a bit of a thing like, I'm going to do it without yous, in spite of yous. But I did. I called my mum, and my mum is, she's to credit for me doing the X Factor, because she sort of bribed me into going and auditioning, because they were in Middlesbrough doing this mobile audition thing. She said, if you go and just sing for them, see what happens, I'll give you some money so you can get your lights back on. So I went there, joined the back of this queue, and I think I was the only person that day that they gave the old golden ticket to.
When you're under that kind of intense spotlight of the competition, how did that impact upon you?
The only parts of that I enjoyed was actually getting up and performing. The rest of the time I was just in my head. I was just walking around with loads of self-doubt and like just insecurity and like, what am I doing here? And like, is this my moment? There was just a lot of questions going on in my head, I think. And I wasn't expressing them to anyone. I was just, again, internalizing everything. That day, I remember feeling like, oh God, I got to get on this stage again and then watch everyone on Twitter and whatever just judge me and say horrible things or whatever, or say nice things. It was just a lot, and it all came to fruition on stage at that point. I delivered a really emotional, angsty performance that I think was, you know, got me probably the best reviews of the whole show. It was like, this was the performance of the series and all this stuff. And looking back, like, I can see the pain I was in while I was performing, and maybe that's what made it so good to people, I think. I was in another surreal moment on stage, comments from Gary Barlow and Louis and Talisa. You know, I was again in this surreal dream world, and then I walked directly from the stage to this. I remember sitting on this sofa in like the reception area and just started getting this like these palpitations and this like just these whirling, irrational thoughts, and I just the only way I can describe it is just I just felt like I'd lost it, completely lost my mind, and I remember just people kind of gathering around me. Then there was an ambulance, and the cameras are all still on me at that point. You know, I guess they got to make a TV show. I remember saying to myself, like, oh, this is it, this is where you die. The only reason I got through the rest of that show from that point was because I was, to be completely honest with you, I was heavily medicated. They were giving me, and because they had to, by the way, they were giving me sedatives and antidepressants throughout. It wasn't until that week where I was in the bottom 2 with Ella Henderson, and of course I'm thinking, well, this is my time to go, that's the journey over. Another rejection, let's go home and lick our wounds sort of thing. And I got through it, and she was like the favourite to win the show. It was at that point where I was like, well, I've got to win this bloody thing now, I have to win it. I've got to win this competition. And I went into competitive mode, and when I do that and I put my mind to something, I'm pretty unstoppable, and I think nothing was going to hold me back at that point. And even when I was stood there in the final, I just knew I was going to win this competition.
Did that feel like, well, this is going to fix everything?
But it definitely didn't fix everything. So I know it definitely didn't fix everything, because that's all still there, and there I am in a swanky penthouse flat in London, all of a sudden, like the X Factor winner, one of the most famous people in Britain at that point, just having no idea how to deal with it. Didn't really have a support network because I'd pushed everyone away. I didn't really know what to say to anyone. I basically pressed the self-destruct button. Didn't know what the fuck to do with it, really. Didn't know what to do with it, so I did what I always did and tried to ruin it, I think. Try to spoil it, got embroiled in Twitter beefs and said controversial things, and it was just like, for me, I think my demons took over, and it was like, let's get this shit away from you because you aren't made for it, sort of thing. Let's get out of here. Drinking, smoking from morning till night, smoking cannabis, being sedentary, not doing anything, just being negative thinking. And I thought, a lot about taking my own life. And looking back, it's really, it's dark really to think about it, but that's where I was. Everyone I said, I'm gonna make a comeback. Everyone I said, I'm gonna make a comeback. I'm gonna be back on the X Factor performing. You wait and see. I'll be top of the charts again. And I could see everyone was like, this kid is deluded. Like no one ever comes back from where he's been. I went away and I started writing songs, and ultimately it was a song that brought me back from the dead. And this one song, this simple love song that I wrote in about 20 minutes, it trumped everything that had ever gone before. It superseded anything that I'd been through, and all of the doubt and all of the negativity, and just cut through like a knife, and it was just like #1 all over the world and billions of views and streams. I mean, I'm sitting in this room now, and it isn't a comfortable place for me. I hate this shit. There's 90% of my job, I fucking hate it. I do not like it. It's not for me. It's just a series of defeats and putting yourself in uncomfortable positions.
How are you feeling now, James?
I am the most equipped I've ever been to deal with my mental health issues. I started doing all the right things, all the things that I know helped me get out of those slumps, and I made an album. I wrote an album in a couple of months, and it ended up being really good. It was a time of reflection for me. Future for me is about progress. It's about being better than I was before. I'd like to win a Brit Award. That'd be nice. I'd like to be recognised by, I just keep getting respect for what I do. I'm definitely striving for that inner peace, probably. That just a settled mind, one that's not got as much doubt in it. And I accept that I have these issues. I accept that I have depressive tendencies and social anxiety, general anxiety. I accept these things now, and I'm grateful for them.
What would you say to someone who's watching this right now and thinking, I
I would say speak up. I have internalized my problems for too long to the point where it had a real negative impact on my life and the people around me. So if you're feeling something that you can't explain in your head that's making you feel sad or down or anxious, do your very best to tell someone. You'll be astonished how many people are going through that same struggle that you are. And we have to normalize it as much as we can. We all have a duty to normalize the subject of mental health.
What I've been interested to see in the last decade, I guess, where social media is the biggest it's ever been, the online abuse and the sexual harassment is just out of control. It's completely out of control.